Colleagues, as the third senator rising to speak to this, I think this is Senator Lafreda's hat trick. As been noted, this is a timely discussion, particularly in light of some of the unfavorable discourse about immigrants happening in Canada and around the world. This population has been portrayed by some as a threat to public safety, public health, and to economic and social stability. Such rhetoric has fueled negative sentiments, has normalized discrimination, and in some cases has justified violence. At such a time, it's critical to remind ourselves how vital immigration has been to Canada's prosperity, Canada's growth. Immigration has shaped our country's economic, political, social, and cultural fabric. It's also important to remember that other than Indigenous peoples who have lived on this land since time immemorial, every resident of Canada or their ancestors have a history of immigration.
Senator White, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you just watch that your card is touching the podium? Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Senator.
I can't say this is a Newfoundland thing. In my remarks, I'd like to focus on the importance of immigration to rural communities and small towns and the experience of newcomers there. Specifically, communities in Newfoundland and Labrador, where immigration has become increasingly important to helping to address population decline, labor shortages, and aging demographics while supporting economic renewal and community vitality. Newcomers go through significant hardships to settle in Canada, especially in small towns where challenges are magnified due to the policies that research shows that are often biased towards the settlement of migrants in urban spaces and largely ignores the non-urban. While the objective of many immigration policies is to distribute immigrants across the country, research shows that government funding does not adequately support this goal, which has a negative impact on smaller communities. In fact, some qualitative studies show that while immigrants to rural communities are generally not worse off than their urban counterparts, they receive different levels of social supports and access to cultural amenities. Many experience social isolation, discrimination, and racism, and face barriers to address these experiences. However, the focus of most academic studies has been on immigration in large and medium-sized communities, especially Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, where there have been a large number of newcomers. A consequence of this is that stories of immigrants to rural Canada are often overlooked. As a senator from Newfoundland and Labrador, I have witnessed firsthand how newcomers bring cultural diversity, entrepreneurship, and fresh perspectives that strengthen our community life and support long-term regional development. Allow me to share one such story. In July 2003, a young man from Bangladesh stepped off a long and exhausting flight into a new chapter in his life in Stephenville, a small town on the west coast of my province. Khalid Nassim, known as Cleet, for him, the first day in Canada was unforgettable, and not just because of the terrible flight. Everything felt different: the air, the pace, the people. He had come because his father-in-law was already a permanent resident, and his wife-to-be held permanent residency status. Within 6 months, his own immigration process was complete. What began as a family decision quickly became a life-defining journey. Cleet is proud of where he comes from, a practicing Muslim. He credits Bangladesh with giving him faith, discipline, and a strong moral grounding. Before coming to Canada, Cleet had already built an international education journey. He earned a Bachelor of Business Administration from the Melbourne Institute of Technology in Australia. His education gave him business knowledge, but it was Newfoundland Labrador that gave him the opportunity to flourish. Like many newcomers, Cleet's first few months were not easy in Newfoundland and Labrador. Despite his education, he could not secure work in his trade. To support his growing family, he began driving a taxi. It turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Driving a cab in Stephenville allowed him to meet all kinds of people. He told me with a smile that it was fantastic to make money while meeting people. Many customers were surprised to see a Bengali man driving a local cab so far from Bangladesh. He was often the subject of Newfoundland jokes, but always in good fun, in the warm and teasing spirit that is so characteristic of my province. That was where he began to feel, this place has room for me. What started as driving someone else's vehicle turned into something much larger. Cleet purchased his own vehicle, then another, then another. Today, he owns and operates King's Cabs, which has 11 cars serving the Bay St. George area and 4 cars in the nearby city of Corner Brook. His entrepreneurial journey did not stop there. In 2022, he opened an Asian food mart in the city, a grocery store specializing in Asian foods and supplies, helping to meet the needs of both the newcomers and longtime residents who are seeking diverse products. His biggest challenge as a newcomer entrepreneur was access to clear information. Understanding how to start and structure a business was not straightforward. Even as recently as 2023, he felt that finding accurate, consolidated guidance for small business owners required persistence and self-navigation. Oh, but he persevered. When asked how Canada compares to his country in terms of business, Cleet spoke very candidly. He says the Canadian business environment was safe. It was free from corruption. I was so proud to have this conversation with him. He explains that while there's no corruption in the system, he has confidence. He feels that he's been treated fairly. While he believes taxes on small business can be a bit too high, he remains extremely grateful for the stability and transparency of the system. Cleet and his wife are raising 6 children, 5 daughters and 1 son, all born in my province. Canada, and especially Newfoundland and Labrador, has given an opportunity to raise his family in his faith, to grow a business, and live in health and peace. For Cleet, home is just not defined by birthplace. It's defined by opportunity, by fairness, by community, by the ability to raise his children. And for a man who arrived on a very difficult flight in July 2003, Stephenville is not just where he lives, it is his home. Cleet's story is like one of thousands across this country. There are many who, like him, have left family, friends, communities, and everything they know behind to build a new life, drawn by the promise of Canada, a promise of safety, stability, opportunity, and good governance, a better life for themselves and their children. Cleet's story is also an important reminder that immigration is essential to the economic and social stabilities of small towns across Canada. Yes, a successful immigration system requires an alignment between immigration levels and the ability to properly welcome newcomers with housing, accessible health care, and education. We know this. We understand this reality. But as we discuss adjustments to our immigration system and revised policies, let's keep the stories and contributions of immigrants at the forefront. Let's continue to see diversity as our strength. And let's remain a country grounded in the principles of inclusivity, fairness, and respect. Wulalio, merci, thank you.